Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, we're jumping straight in today, taking a look at some really fascinating campaign finance reports coming out of the Bronx.
Specifically concerning judicial races. And what the sources are showing is this very tight, very expensive, and incredibly centralized flow of political money and, frankly, power.
Yeah, we're talking about a job that's, highly sought after, a Bronx Civil Court judgeship.
Absolutely. It's a big deal. It comes with a $214,000 a year salary, a 10-year term guaranteed, and it's often the stepping stone, right, to higher courts, even ones hearing serious criminal cases.
The stakes are definitely high, which sets up this core paradox that we really need to unpack.
Full on.
Okay, so since 2021, nearly every single winning judicial candidate in the Bronx won the Democratic primary super easily, like really easily.
Right. Most of the time, the primary itself was just
Right.
canceled. Poof,
Yep.
gone. Because there wasn't any competition. The number of candidates exactly matched the number of open seats.
Exactly, which makes perfect sense in a place like the Bronx, which is so heavily Democratic. You get the nomination, you've basically got the job.
It's the structural reality there.
Yeah.
So the big question becomes, if you're facing zero actual electoral threat, why on earth are you spending sometimes huge amounts of money on political consultants?
That's the million-dollar question, maybe literally. The sources we've synthesized for you, they reveal this really tight pattern, spending focused almost exclusively on just two consulting firms.
And crucially, both firms are, let's say, closely tied to the current Bronx Democratic Party chair, Jamaal Bailey.
This isn't just a small trend either. We're talking serious concentration. Since 2021, these two firms, they're called London House and Collado Consultants and Company, they've collected nearly half of all the campaign money spent by winning Bronx Civil Court candidates.
Half. That's a huge chunk of the pie. It's pretty unusual, even in non-competitive races, to see that level of financial consolidation.
Right. It really jumped out at us. So this concentration, that's what we're really digging into today. Let's start in segment one by looking closer at this money funnel and the key players involved.
Okay, so the pattern seems clearly linked to the current party leadership. Jamaal Bailey took over as party chair late in 2020.
And this spending trend kicked in almost immediately after.
Pretty much right away, yeah. And the connections, well, they're not subtle. London House is run by Jason Laidley. Sources say he's a longtime friend, a close ally of Chair Bailey.
Okay. And the other firm, Collado Consultants.
Also run by someone described as closely allied with the chair. So you have the key political infrastructure, these consulting shops, run by the chair's allies.
Got it. And the financial weight here, let's put some numbers on it. You said nearly half the spending. How many candidates are we talking about?
Since 2021, there have been 13 winning civil court candidates. 11 of those 13 hired at least one of these two firms.
11 out of 13. Wow. And how much did they pay them collectively?
The total bill just from those candidates comes out to over $172,000.
$172,000.
And London House, Laidley's firm, took the lion's share of that, nearly $150,000, just from judicial candidates.
That's significant. And when you look at the individual campaign reports, I mean, that's where it gets even more revealing, isn't it?
Absolutely. We found 5 winning candidates who sent more than half of their total campaign funds straight to these two firms.
More than half. Any examples that stand out?
Yeah, take Jessica Flores. She won her race. Her campaign sent London House 80%. 80% of her total spending.
80% to one consultant when the primary was, likely canceled anyway.
Exactly. It just makes you wonder what services are being provided for that kind of money, especially when there isn't really a campaign to run in the traditional sense.
Well, what do the filings say? Are they detailed?
Not really. They're pretty vague, actually. You see these umbrella terms like administrative and operational services, maybe voter outreach.
Not a lot of specifics for such big payments. You'd expect, I don't know, itemized bills for mailers or ads if that's what was happening.
Yeah.
It feels opaque.
It does. And look, the money isn't just coming from the candidates. The party itself, the Bronx Democratic Party, under Bailey's leadership,
Yeah.
they've paid London House nearly $300,000 since 2021.
$300,000 from the party coffers.
Yep. For similarly vague services, administrative, operational, voter outreach.
Yeah.
So the party structure is funding this firm, and the candidates seeking the party's backing are also funding this firm. It all flows to the same place.
It's quite the ecosystem. And are there other consultants getting a piece of this action?
Barely. Our sources make it clear no other advisor working for winning judicial campaigns has earned even a tenth of what London House has pulled in during this period. It's total dominance.
And does hiring London House seem to correlate with winning?
Overwhelmingly, get this. Only one candidate who hired London House since 2021 has actually lost.
Only one. So if you're a candidate looking at this,
Right? You're a lawyer, you want to be a judge, you see those numbers. Does hiring this firm feel like a strategic choice anymore? Or does it start to feel like, well, a prerequisite?
like the cost of doing business, which leads us right into our next segment, segment 2. This paradox of spending in canceled races. We know the spending is huge, it's concentrated. Now, let's hammer home that electoral reality again.
Yeah, it really can't be stressed enough. For the last 3 years, running 2021, 2022, 2023, the Democratic primary for civil court in the Bronx canceled.
Every year, because the number of candidates who made it onto the ballot perfectly matched the number of seats available.
Exactly. Victory was essentially locked in once the ballot was finalized. No need to campaign, persuade voters, nothing.
But, and this is the kicker, the spending didn't stop just because the race was over.
No, it didn't. We've got a really clear case study. Carol Malcolm, she won an election in 2023.
Okay, what happened with her campaign?
So first, she had to loan her own campaign $15,000 just to get started. But here's the timeline that matters. After her primary was officially canceled because nobody was running against her,
Yes.
she still spent more than $13,000 paid directly to London House.
$13,000 after she effectively already won.
Correct. And then she followed that up with over $5,000 more to Collado consultants. Even in the general election, it was just 2 candidates running for 2 seats, a guaranteed win.
So the money clearly wasn't about persuading voters. It had to be about something else.
Sees that way, and it points to another hurdle, right? To even participate in this system, you need the cash up front.
Right. The sources explicitly mention this. It helps for judicial candidates to have some degree of independent wealth just to be able to pay these kinds of fees to the party-connected firms.
And you see it in the filings. It's not just Malcolm. Jessica Flores, the one who spent 80% with London House, she loaned her campaign $37,500.
Wow.
Taisha Chambers, another winner, loaned her campaign $20,000. Michelle Davila put in nearly $16,000 of her own money.
So it's not just having qualifications, it's having the personal funds to pay these consultants. It definitely raises questions about access.
Does it screen out potentially great candidates who just don't have that kind of personal wealth? It's a fair question.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder about who gets filtered out before they even really start.
Exactly. And, we found some external critique on this. David Siffert, he's the research director at the NYU Center for Civil Justice.
Okay, what did she say?
He looked at this kind of setup, this opaque process tied to specific consultants, and suggested the natural result is, well, his word was nepotism, or at least a system where access feels very transactional.
Transactional, that seems to fit the pattern. Did he have more specifics?
He had this quote that really nailed the candidate's perspective, I think. He said, imagine being a highly qualified lawyer. You want to serve, but you feel you absolutely must hire this firm that maximizes my chances.
Even if your chances are already, statistically, 100% because there's no opponent.
Precisely. The spending isn't about votes anymore. It seems to be about getting access, getting the nod from the party.
Which leads us straight into segment 3, the opacity of the screening process itself and this clear conflict of interest with the consultants playing dual roles.
Look, because the party endorsement is everything here. That's the key.
And officially, on paper, the process sounds pretty standard. Candidates apply, their applications get reviewed by an independent judicial screening panel.
Supposedly independent, yes. Composed of various bar associations, community groups. Sounds good, right?
It sounds good, but what's the reality?
Well, here's the big problem the sources uncovered. There's basically zero transparency. The party's own website. It doesn't tell you which community groups or bar associations are on this panel.
Seriously, no list?
Nope. It doesn't name the individuals on the panel. It doesn't even publicly list who the party officially endorsed.
Wait, the party doesn't publish its own endorsements for judge?
Not on their website, no. And when asked directly about who sits on this supposedly independent panel, Chair Bailey declined to answer.
Declined to answer who is on the panel making these crucial decisions. That lack of transparency is something, especially when you compare ratings.
Exactly. Look at the New York City Bar Association.
Yeah.
They do their own independent reviews of judicial candidates, right?
Yeah, they're pretty well respected.
Well, they gave a not approved rating, basically saying they questioned the qualifications to 2 different judges who had paid London House quite a bit of money.
So an independent body flagged qualification issues. But what did the party's panel say? The secret panel.
The Bronx Democratic Party's own screening panel, whose members we don't know, decided those same two candidates were qualified.
Okay, so a direct contradiction. Independent review says not approved. Internal party panel says qualified. And those candidates happen to be paying the chair's allies firm.
That's the picture the sources paint. And it highlights the conflict of interest right at the center of this, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because Jason Laidley, the guy running London House, he's getting paid by both sides. He's retained by the Bronx Democratic Party, the organization handing out the golden ticket endorsement.
Okay.
And he's also retained by the individual candidates who are desperately seeking that endorsement.
So he's advising the party on endorsements, theoretically, while also taking money from the people wanting the endorsement. That feels messy.
It certainly creates, let's say, a self-reinforcing loop. You pay the party's preferred consultant. Maybe that helps you navigate the opaque screening process successfully, regardless of what outside groups might think.
Is there evidence of this influencing things directly?
Well, there was this anecdote from a fundraiser back in May that seemed pretty telling.
Okay, lay it on us.
The event was held at party headquarters. It was promoting two specific party-backed civil court candidates, Eliza Rodriguez and Deidre Moore.
And let me guess.
You got it. Both Rodriguez and Moore had hired and paid London House.
Okay, standard fundraiser for endorsed candidates, right.
Except there was a third candidate who also had the party's backing, Dawn Guglielmo. She was omitted from the event promotion. And guess who she hadn't hired?
London House.
Bingo. It sends a pretty clear signal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About who's really on the inside track. It seems tied to paying the allied consultants, even when, again, the primary was already a done deal.
Wow. And you mentioned this isn't just about judges.
No, the sources indicate this is part of a broader pattern in Bronx politics. Look at Assemblymember Landon Deas.
Okay, what's his story?
He was essentially handpicked by the borough party leadership to fill a vacant assembly seat earlier this year. No real primary battle.
Appointed, basically.
Pretty much.
Yes.
And what was one of his very first major campaign expenses after getting the nod?
Don't tell me.
A check for $26,550 straight to London House.
Over $26,000 as his first move.
Yep. It was more than half of his initial fundraising haul. And he still pays the other connected firm, Collado Consultants, $1,000 a month.
So getting the party's blessing, whether it's for a judgeship or a legislative seat, seems to come with an expectation, or at least a very strong suggestion, to hire these specific firms.
That's certainly the pattern the financial records suggest.
Now, we do need to be fair and include the official defenses here. How do the party leaders explain this?
Well, Chair Bailey has stated that the endorsements are based on a thorough and fair evaluation process.
Okay. And Assemblymember Deas. How did he justify hiring London House right off the bat?
He framed it as prioritizing local minority-owned businesses. He actually asked, when a Black and Latino firm is hired, that's the only local shop, really, in the Bronx. Why is that questioned?
That's a fair point about supporting local and minority-owned firms. It's important context.
It absolutely is. Representation in the consulting world matters. But the sources sort of push back gently, asking if supporting local firms requires this level of opacity around the screening panel.
Or does it require candidates to have significant personal wealth to afford fees that seem disconnected from actual campaign needs? Those structural questions remain, right?
Exactly. At the end of the day, what the sources strongly suggest is that the money being spent by these judicial candidates isn't really about traditional campaigning anymore. It seems to be about buying access, influence, securing that crucial party nod.
It's a system where money and the endorsement have effectively replaced electoral competition.
Pretty much.
So let's wrap this up. What does this all mean for you, our listener? Well, this isn't just some niche story about the Bronx.
No, it's really a fascinating case study. It shows how, especially in places dominated by one political party, the real competition shifts away from the voters.
Yeah, it shifts to the back rooms, to the endorsement process. And the cost of entry, the need to engage with specific gatekeepers, can become the main event.
It creates this powerful feedback loop, doesn't it? The party's political machine, its preferred consultants, are financed directly by the candidates who need that party's stamp of approval.
Which basically means the party can end up dictating not just who wins, but maybe even who can realistically afford to run in the first place.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to talk about. Given that the party leader wouldn't name the members of the judicial screening panel, wouldn't even list the official endorsees publicly, how can you as a voter really determine where the line is?
Right. Are these high consulting firms just a smart business decision supporting local talent, as Assemblymember Diaz suggests? Or do they function as essentially a mandatory payment, a necessary price for admission just to get your foot in the door of that very opaque endorsement system?
Something to definitely mull over as you look at how judges and other officials get selected in your own communities.